We gather here today to honor the lost lives of Twice and Shigaraki. Wait, I don't think Shigaraki's dead.
Where are you going? You stopped? Did you finish?
That's all I had to say, and then as soon as I was going to move on to the next point of my joke, you started singing hymns, and I wanted to see if I couldn't get that recorded.
I was just trying to add some mood for what you were doing. I'm trying to enhance the experience that you were creating.
This entire thing is going to be more of an obituary. I just wanted to, we were going to review this episode last week, but things on my end made it impossible. I apologize. So what we're going to do to compensate for it... What? 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 I could... What?
Doing the mood music. If I play the actual music, we're gonna get targeted by spam bots. So I'm trying to add my velvety tones to what we're doing here.
I got copyright free music in the background. What are you talking about?
Do you want to turn it off and I'll just sing for the whole podcast while you talk?
I don't think the listeners would like that.
You should ask them. Are they anyone listening to your podcast right now?
I'm getting telepathic messages, and they're telling me don't let this man sing, because then we'll get copyright strike. You have your voice in the copyright system somewhere. I know you do. Okay, on a serious note, yeah, we're just gonna. I guess I'm gonna do a little bit of like a quick shot-to-shot thing for episode 3, and then we'll move right into episode 4. Because I feel like there's way more to talk about or dissect in episode 4 than there is in 3. I guess episode 3 was kind of interesting in terms of we got a chance to see everything kind of go down, especially between Hawks and Twice and Dobby, who made a surprise appearance and burnt a lot of Hawk's feathers in the process. Twice died, and I want to start out with this saying that I actually kind of spoiled myself accidentally. I want to say like sometime last season, and I think it was live when it happened too. I think I said some words and I was like, oh snap, no, well, I'm not gonna say this anymore. So I kind of already knew he was gonna die. Now when he was gonna die, I didn't know, but I definitely knew that he was dead. In the main story. Still don't like it, even after having all this long time of me, just knowing in the back of my head. Apparently you spoil yourself on something, and I don't know what you spoil yourself on, and I guess it hasn't been shown yet, because you probably would have told me at this point. But yeah, I knew about Twice's death, and I made sure I did my best to make sure I didn't say anything that alluded to him dying before now. But I can now say that I actually did know about Twice's death. I blame Google. I blame Google's search engine, because they know that I watch this stuff. Things reach me that I don't want to be reached.
Google
My Hero is one of them.
Hey.
I also, due to Google as well, again, know about something else in the future.
You said doo-doo Google.
You might as well due to Google. I really hate that. Like, because things that happen in manga become huge news, I already know about some other major event. I don't know the significance of it, but it does have something to do with a character. That's all I'm gonna say. But I knew about Twice dying, and I will say that I liked him as a character. I really did. Even though I made fun of him by calling him Discount Deadpool.
Which he is. Let's be fair.
That's why I think you actually named him that. Actually, now I think about it. But I decided to run with it, and I did that in love because, as you said, that's really what he was. Deadpool's probably better, but Twice is really cool in my opinion. I wanted to spend this time to actually talk about because next episode we can still talk about the messed up world of My Hero. But I
heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first, folks. Game Hunter thinks that Deadpool is better.
I'm not afraid to admit that. I literally bought both movies, and I will be buying the third one when that comes out.
Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments about this scandal that he's charged with.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people would agree with you that Deadpool's better.
Yeah. Well, based on what?
Isn't that Deadpool's better?
It's like comparing Mickey Mouse to I don't know, literally anybody. Deadpool is a completely different type of character than Twice is.
No, not really.
Okay, I'm listening.
Both of them have a dissociative identity disorder. Twice is more apparent, but Deadpool has these moments where he's talking to himself. The only thing that's different is their power base. Deadpool being that much stronger than Twice, which is also weird to me. I guess I don't I understand why they killed Twice. Am I happy about it? No. But do I understand why they did it? Yes. Deadpool still got growing to do, as far as I'm aware, and he's got different continuities and different timelines he's a part of. I just think Deadpool is probably just Marvel and anime don't really mix, and I'm comparing you consider a 5-star restaurant to a 2-star burger joint. I still think those two are comparable in ways. Their personalities are literally almost copied, kind of. It's just that they took Deadpool's excessive personality and turned it into a superpower and just gave it to a random guy in the show.
Are you sure you're just not overgeneralizing the fact that he's sort of a clown character?
He might be a clown character, but he kept on talking about how dangerous he was.
I'm talking about Deadpool, being sort of a clown character. He breaks the third wall. He breaks the fourth wall. He's sort of a virtuoso. He's murderous and evil, but he's too lighthearted for you to think he's a full bad guy. he has this complicated backstory kind of thing going on, but like really like you're just there for the laughs, you know. But with Twice, we actually sort of had a somewhat developed character that, I mean, he's hanging out with the crazies, and he's one of the crazies himself to some extent, but like, excuse me, he's not all crazy. Like, he's got his own thing going on, and like, it's actually kind of interesting. He became one of the more interesting characters in the show.
I mean, that's what I wanted to get to before you derailed me with this Deadpool shtick.
Okay.
Well, what I wanted to say was that I enjoyed Twice, or Bubba Gawara is his name. I enjoyed him, and what I wanted to say is I think before we even get in episode 4, which they start showing more of how messed up we already knew how messed up the world was to begin with. I feel like these 2 episodes really highlighted it. At least with certain characters, like Twice was a good example of highlighted what's wrong with this world. I feel like Twice was an example of a villain character that wasn't really necessarily a bad person, but why he was a villain is because of circumstance. I feel like if somebody like Hawks had found him beforehand, maybe he would have come out differently. I mean, there's no guarantee. Who knows? You know, circumstances are circumstances. But like, I feel like somewhere in this whole life that Twice had led, which he didn't regret. As he was dying, he literally said that, you know, he enjoyed where he was. You know, he felt lucky enough to have friends. And
he just wanted to take care of his friends. Like, that's his biggest motivation here. He's like, I got to take care of my friends.
He gained friendship through being messed over, basically. I mean, his entire life went down a down spiral. I feel like a lot of the circumstance that he went through, I guess he's a good example of like, a lot of villains are only villains because of what happened to them in their life. And I think Twice is a very good example of that. He was a good person. You know, he was upstanding. He was, I guess, kind of upstanding when he was like not a villain, but he only became a villain because of everything that happened to him with his power. I think also Twice is another good example of like not just somebody who had a really bad life, you know, but also a person who had a really bad life only because his ability in this world was just too much for him to handle by himself. A lot of times people have these really overpowered abilities, but they don't know how to deal with them. And in Twice's case, it was more of his inability to not like he at first they make it seem like he can't not duplicate himself unless he's in that cloth. But we find out later on that he can. It's just that after he did it so much time, he lost who he was literally in that mess, and he wasn't able to, you know, to differentiate if he was a clone or not. But Twice had a really, I felt really bad for the guy, even like as the episode was going on, you could just see like he was like panicking, like every time there was a trap, it was my fault. And it makes you really feel for the guy because it's like he was just trying to help, and every time he was trying to help, it you know, something bad happened. It really does make you feel for him though. Like he, you know, and it's too bad that he had to die. I mean, and I guess he died for you know, something he believed in. He believed in the cause he was fighting for, whatever that cause was, and he believed to his death in Shigaraki. As we're getting closer, I guess we get further into this anime, we'll probably start seeing more sides of the villain and like why they followed, you know, Tomura, or in some cases don't follow Tomura, as we find out from Dabi. But we also see Dabi kind of like showing like a friendship with Twice, even if it was manipulative. That was a shock too, if I'm being honest. I wasn't expecting Dabi to have a connection with him, but we you know, he, even if it was manipulative in nature, it was still a connection that like Dabi, you know, well, that Twice and Dabi, you know, had with each other, even if Dabi didn't trust what Hawks was saying. I guess even the connection with Dabi, the connection that Twice had with Hawks, you know, that was interesting. You know, he believed Hawks to be a good guy even as Hawks murdered him. And then we get in this whole thing with like, do heroes really murder? And I'm like, things are getting dark. Darker than they were at the very beginning of the show.
I think you're right. I mean, the very nature of the Twice character is that he's confused. Like, completely literally, like, he's a confused character. Like, it's like a lot of the characters are exemplified by their powers, like characterized by their powers in one way or another, or their powers at least gel like really well with their personality. And in the case of Twice, like, he split up into a million versions of himself. His name is Twice. It's not his real name, but he was so nice they named him Twice. And like, he has
I'm
the
gonna groan for everybody in the audience. Just continue.
It was so nice they named him Twice, right? But he's completely confused. Like, he's sort of a chameleon that he can be anybody and at the same time, like nobody. He's dynamic in that sense. You know what I mean? That he's like, it's got to be confusing to be ready to become anybody you know, whether you like them or not, whether you know them well or not. You know, to spurt out to that. So he's this character that's anything and nobody, and like he's fighting with his own identity here, and he's like, I'm gonna pick one thing that I can roll with, and that's gonna be that I value my friends and I value my friendships. And then his life then becomes a pretty tragic series of him letting his friends down, his friends betraying him and not being what he thought they would, and him failing in every way through his loyalty to his friends, either because they betrayed him or he betrayed them by accident. So it's a really interesting dynamic that's like been put together with him. I think that's really interesting. It's sort of like the shapeshifter trope that you see sometimes, where the shapeshifter has to like be ready to become anybody, except in this case it's not the shapeshifter trope so much as like he actually sort of becomes them because his clones can become them, or like split themselves up. The more he goes, he spreads himself thinner. It's just a super interesting combination. Like, I think that he was a really well-made character and different than Deadpool, which is why I was emphasizing so strongly that I thought that he was a very different character than Deadpool, because Deadpool comedically doesn't know who he is, but like on a more pragmatic level, like, as bizarre as it sounds, I think he's got his stuff together a little bit more than he Twice does.
No, I agree. I'm just saying that I guess from like a sky view, from like an airplane view looking downwards, like just like from like a very not even looking into their lives specifically and their personalities, people probably would like Deadpool more. But I'm pretty sure that's why Twice even exists, kind of a little bit, not all the way, because he's obviously developed way more than Deadpool is, which is kind of funny considering that Deadpool's a little bit stronger than him regardless. But well, I mean, that could be argued, but whatever. I'm not gonna get into that. But
and then being sort of a comic relief anti-hero, like, what in sort of crazy acting, like, what is the actual similarities between Twice and Deadpool?
he said, "Well, girl, about going into the backstory."
What?
Without going into the backstory?
Go into the backstory if you want. What's the similarity between the two?
Both of them like were pretty decent people until like something screwy happened to them. And in Deadpool's case, it was like more of like he kind of did it to himself when he decided to be involved with the Weapon X stuff. But like a little bit of like what happened to Twice was kind of self-inflicted too. Granted, it got out of control after he was trying to reel it in, but he still couldn't reel it in. Some of it, what happened to him personality-wise, and Twice got a hold of it last season. Yeah, he got a hold of it. He got a hold of it last season.
Is that specific to Twice though, or is that just an extremely old cartoon like comic book trope? I mean, Batman was a normal kid until something happened tragic in his life, right? Superman was a normal kid until something tragic happened in his life. The planet was being destroyed and he was sent to Earth. Like, the tragic backstory is like meat and potatoes to any superhero story. Like, why does it Why does it make Twice like Deadpool?
I don't get where you're going. I guess that's basically what I'm getting at right now at this point. I guess I'm not getting where you're going.
I'm curious because you're like doubling down on this like Twice is discount Deadpool, but like I'm challenging. Even though I was the original person to bring it up, I want to challenge it and I want to see what you think. Like, how is he actually discount Deadpool? Like, what actually makes him?
I mean, I've never really called him discount Deadpool. I mean, what I was saying, he's kind of like Deadpool. Is basically where I was like, what I've come down to. I mean, I like both characters. Like, I mean, they look similar. They're both just as crazy. Granted, I will, like, on a power basis, I'm pretty sure Deadpool could kick twice his butt. But I guess like on a likable scale, like what I like about Deadpool isn't really his personality per se, it's his abilities. But what I like about Twice is not his abilities per se, it's his personality. I guess what I'm getting is like, I kind of wonder like what would happen if they were to mesh. But I feel like, but one of these, I feel like, and I'm not totally sure, there's no way to confirm this because I don't speak Japanese and I can never get in contact with this guy. But I feel like to me, like I know for a fact some of the Japanese do look at Western media. I feel like to me, I feel like there was something Deadpool, you know, there at first, but it ended up becoming Twice. I feel like there's no way to confirm this, but I feel like there's gotta be because like when I look at Twice, I don't like the first thing I see is like, huh, he kind of looks like Deadpool. Not that like, huh, this is an interesting character. That part only comes after I see him in action and the things that he gets up to and what happened to him in his backstory. I feel like there was no way to confirm this because I don't, like, again, I don't speak Japanese and I don't know how you would get in contact with the creator, so I couldn't tell you like if it's confirmed or not that he got inspiration from Deadpool. But I mean, it's been kind of confirmed already that he got inspiration from Star Wars with some of like the things he literally took the names from the Star Wars universe and put him into a street sign in his universe. He's done this before, so it's like it's not impossible that he couldn't have had some inspiration. Now, could he take an outline? Maybe he say, "Okay, I want this, I want this, I want that, and I want nothing else." And then he just spun it in his own creative blender and came out with Twice. It's a possibility. I do feel like there is some inspiration. You know, it may not be, you know, 100% him, but I'm pretty sure that like, because all these other characters are really unique in their own way. I mean, All Might is the classic slice Western media in terms of Superman, but I feel like almost all these other characters have different personalities and they're unique in their designs and their abilities and how they apply their powers. Deadpool's like, I mean, this guy, not Deadpool, Twice is the first character I've seen that he's come out with that I literally saw another character in him.
The more the character builds up, in my opinion, the more he ceases to resemble Deadpool, though. Like, as the storyline goes on, he begins to resemble, like, his defining characteristics tend to be like failure, mutability, ability, like shape-shifting, love for, like, not love so much as loyalty and a level of selflessness, vulnerability. His story is one of healing and improvement. Like, one of the most tragic things about Twice is that he was just realizing his potential in his life, like just realizing what he could actually become if he tried hard enough, and he lost it. And like you can see, like the
I mean, to clarify, when I call Twice, when I say Twice is like Deadpool or discount Deadpool, I'm not discounting anything that Twice has done. That is not what I'm doing there. I'm making a very, very high level comparison. I'm not even like, you know, it's not even getting into that. And there's obviously differences. I'm not sitting here saying that they're the same. It's like, no, like I know there are differences. I know for a fact there are differences. I am not stupid. I'm just
challenging similarities, and like, huh, he kind of looks like Deadpool. But like, what is the building, like, what is the building block difference? Like, what makes him more like Deadpool than what's the Shadow guy's name? Why can't I think of it?
Tokiyami?
Dark Shadow. What makes him more like Deadpool compared to like Dark Shadow being like Batman?
I don't know. I would compare like Eraser to Batman, but that's just
Saying Dark
they're
Shadow.
a mood, just the mood that they give off when they're on when they're in the fray, and then the fact that like I don't know if I would even compare Tokiyame to Batman. I don't even what hero he would even be if we were to
He's
take a
got
hero from over here. I don't even know what hero he would even be compared to.
he's got a cape. He's night themed. He's got a certain level of nobility to him. Um, it's not ludicrous to compare him to Batman, but it's I don't think it's much more apt to compare Twice to Deadpool. They have different powers. They have completely different stories and backstories. Their primary, like, and if anything, I would say Dark Shadow's more like Batman because, like, Twice, other than being like silly on the outside, um, you know what I mean? He's not a mercenary. He's not an assassin. He's not good with guns. He's not. He doesn't have a physical disease. He he doesn't have most of the things that Deadpool has. His curse in life is different than Deadpool's. Like his, I mean, I guess they're both misguided, but one of them, I feel like Deadpool is more like misguided because of his own means, as opposed to Twice mostly being misguided by others.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I would, and this is just my own like head. Like, I feel like when I look at Deadpool, I mean, I look at Deadpool. Dang, I keep calling Deadpool. When I look at Twice, I see Deadpool. When I look at other characters, I don't see any other comparisons. And maybe there can be comparisons being made because it's a superhero show, but still, I just, I really do not like. When I'm trying to think, I'm like thinking of Tokiyami and Batman in my brain was like, I can't. 'Cause I mean, with the whole cape thing, there are other characters that have capes. All might have one until you took it off. Uh, Razorhead's kind of got a cape. It's really just his scarf on his around his neck. It could kind of be a cape. The hood on Deku's costume kind of can be like a cape.
Well, I mean, you compared All Might to Superman.
I could like honestly, I think when I say like I think it like All Might could just be like a generic Western, like slice of life, like not slice of but like slice of a of a superhero over here. Now Superman would be the optimal comparison because they kind of like resemble. They kind of resemble Hope in both their both their instances of their shtick.
Okay.
Unfortunately, All Might not died, but lost his abilities. Superman didn't. Well, then again, I take that back. He got a new power which could make him human for a day, but that's only for a day.
You're spoiling something for me again. You told me All Might died. Is this something you learned from Google?
All Might didn't die. I said he lost his abilities.
You're so indignant.
You're indignant.
See how it is.
I guess basically what I wanted to say come out of that, I was just like, I like Twice. I really wish he didn't die. A part of me was kind of hoping maybe I was being lied to, that maybe there was a clone. But when that clone started melting and started, saying his goodbyes, I was like, oh, dang, he actually is dead.
Yeah.
A part of me was hoping, I was like, maybe because they could do this whole like, oh, he didn't really die, he was a clone, that got stabbed. But you saw him. They were really. It's interesting with this episode 4. They showed a lot of like blood and with Mirko, and a lot of piercing her body, and then some of her skin coming off of her thighs and whatever. That when they killed Twice, they kind of just like had him killed off screen, and we come back and there's blood coming off the balcony. You think that was weird?
It's interesting because like the clones get mauled by like sometimes the 100, like even seconds before. So there's sort of a poetic moment, like poetic nature to the fact that we don't actually see him die, even though we see all of his clones go.
I don't know. It just seems kind of weird that they would go through the trouble to animate Miracle. Well, I mean, we can go on episode 4 because, like, I mean, the episode ends with Twice dying. Rest in peace, dude. I
Well,
I
here's the question.
suspect his ability probably will not disappear because, I mean, they can take copies of clone abilities now. I mean, shoot.
Yeah. I have other questions about this episode though that I want to talk about if you feel like it.
Sure. Is one of the questions about why Dobby knows Hawk's real name?
No, but we can talk about it if you want. You don't have to do mine yet.
Huh?
We can talk about that if you want, but we don't have to talk about it immediately. It's just out there.
I mean, what's your first question? I couldn't tell you. I don't have any answers for you. I don't know what's going on here. So I think we're about to get into a serious life or death situation.
Can you remind me? Who killed Hawks at the end? I mean, who killed Twice at the end? His actual death moment.
Hawks.
So Hawks actually kills him, and they don't show it on camera. Is this like the first time that a human character has killed a fully like a superhero character has killed a fully human character, not just some monster like a Nomu?
If you want to get into specifics, the little Todoroki side story we had last season kind of hinted that like Endeavor had something to do with the disappearance of his kid. Probably not on purpose, considering that Endeavor literally is going every day praying in front of his lost kid's shrine.
Mm-hmm.
But like, no, there hasn't been like an active like hero on human killing. Granted, I mean in this case is a hero on villain killing. But
are the people making the story just sort of softening things a little bit by having this happen off camera, do you think?
No, because the thing is like this is the weird thing I don't understand, and it's not like an issue I have. I guess you could clarify as an issue. It's like I think even before now, we've had a lot of like gruesome fights and a lot of like limbs getting stabbed and whatever, and blood kind of being spewed. It it just seems kind of weird that like I guess that's the one gruesome thing that they have to show, and they cut away from it as if it's about to be really bloody. But when we come back to his body, I mean, the only thing we can see is his blonde hair or sandy hair over the balcony, and then blood dripping down. Almost if we weren't supposed to see what happened up there. Granted, I guess
Is that sort of an artistic choice that like heroes aren't supposed to kill people? And here we have Hawks having to do it. Hawks being sort of like the interesting thing about Hawks and Twice together is that they're two sides of a coin. You have these both like somewhat anti-hero characters, like with Hawks putting Endeavor like sort of in a perilous situation at one point and having to do some like make some difficult decisions in the name of being a hero. What?
sorry, no, I don't know why this just now dawned on me, but okay, with the whole hero killing thing and just heroes in like what the image that they're displaying, you know, with Twice being this big message of like so heroes can kill. I'm gonna take us back to an earlier moment in the series for a real quick second. Now, this episode, well, I think it's episode 4, we see as Hawks is dealing with Dobby, which we'll get to later. There's been several images, and they've been pretty particular with how they draw Hawks as a kid. And there's always one thing that's always been in his hand, at all times. It's never not been there, even in like the ending scenes with Hawks as a kid. Hawks has an Endeavor doll. And
Interesting.
also, I'm gonna really contradict everything I tried defending Endeavor with last podcast season, but here we go, undoing everything I just did. Hawks has his Endeavor doll, And again, we're gonna go back to episode 4 real quick. As a kid, Hawks brings up that Endeavor saved him, and it affected him, because he wanted to be a hero because of it. Now, what I want to say is that, okay, every time we've seen Hawks with this Endeavor doll, something that's never occurred to me is that, okay, Endeavor's trying to do some changing. He realizes that he's probably, well, not probably, he realizes he's done some damage to his family. But there's one thing we've never really discussed is that heroes typically generate fans. Am I correct? Like heroes typically generate people who want to be like them. And it's been the case for All Might. He's affected a lot of kids. But we never really thought about, did Endeavor affect anybody, with his heroism. And we saw one kid and we thought, well, at least I thought that, okay, maybe he got to one kid and was a good person. We look over Hawks. Hawks is the one hero that was not generated by All Might. Hawks is the one hero generated by Endeavor. And this was Endeavor prior to his change. Also, Hawks was like trained by the government to be a special hero, is what they called him. I wonder if I wonder if that killing is just the repercussions of what Endeavor did when he was in his early days.
Certainly could be.
Like maybe Hawks believes that the ends justifies the means, sort of. But I don't think Endeavor killed anybody. That's the other thing. I think he's only killed a Nomu. Even with how harsh he was back, I don't think Endeavor's killed anybody.
Yeah, he never even killed his wife.
I knew I was undoing everything. I tried defending the man on last season, but I guess it's already too late. Whatever. I did everything. I will try to rebuild everything later on.
Oh dear.
I will not slip my wrist. Okay.
Well, that escalated quickly. So
Wait,
if we can go back. I said that escalated quickly. If we can go back for a second to what I was saying about Hawks and Twice, they have sort of a similarity if you think about it between the two of them, because Hawks and Twice are both kind of walking the gray area. Hawks is the good guy, but he's doing a lot of regrettable things. He put Endeavor in danger. He he had to help the enemy enough where they could trust him. He's the one willing to kill out of all the heroes so far. He's got this mysterious double agent style to him. Like he's a double agent. And then there's Twice, who's not a double agent, but he's helping the heroes inadvertently. And he is on the side of evil, but there's this good side to him. So like on the front, Twice is on the front side of the coin, Twice, when you first look at him, Twice is evil, but on the other side of it, he's the most good of the evil characters, it seems like. He's the one that has the other side to him that's sort of good. On the side with Hawks, at first glance, he's a hero, but on the flip side to it, he's the most evil of the heroes that we've seen so far, in a lot of ways. I mean, there's some other complicated heroes, but he's the one that's killed. He's the one that's put Endeavor in danger. He's the one that has been hanging out with the bad guys all this time. He's the one that built an emotional connection with one of those bad guys that compromised the mission for a moment when he didn't want to kill him. So there's this sort of parallel between the two of them that I think is sort of worth exploring and is really interesting as well. You don't see what I'm saying at all, do you?
I mean, the whole double agent thing, it kind of made sense, but past that?
If we went on the spectrum from All Might being the super good hero, all the way down to All for One being the super evil hero, and we have the steps up, the next step up is Midoriya, and the other step on the other side is, his apprentice, and so forth all the way through, then right at the middle will be where hero becomes good guy and good guy becomes hero. All the way to the end of the hero side, you have the number 2 hero that's working as a double agent, literally working with somebody named Twice. They meet, they've got a lot of similarities between the two of them. A lot of similarities. between the two of them as far as their role, as far as like the dark and light in them, as far as a lot of things.
I mean, I can see those two, but I don't know what else, what other, like, you know, I don't even think, I mean, like, backstories aside, because those don't really match, but I can't really think of anything else that they share besides them working together and them kind of being the catalyst for this entire arc.
Bryce lives a double life, right? He has the two splits to him, and Hawk has to live a double life. Twice has a good and evil side. Hawks has a good and evil side. They're all both of them are ultimately extremely loyal to their friends.
I don't know if I say Hawks has a good and evil side. I mean, yeah, he's complicated, but like anybody could they could have chosen anybody to like infiltrate the villains. I think Hawks was just the most, you know.
You think they could have?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody has the ability to like if they this like I think Hawks is probably less suspicious considering that he came from being the newbie to becoming number 2. It's like there's not much on him, and the CIA or whoever trained him probably made sure that, well, no, we know they made sure that nobody knew about him.
Well, we know that Stain is a heavy note in the next episode, right? And Stain talks about the purity of heroes, and that's like his whole shtick. And here we have Hawks, as you just pointed out, sort of having the suggestion that he's doing it for the popularity.
No, I feel like he's just doing it so he can live a free life, whatever the heck that means. I really don't understand that, like, idea. But
You don't think he's doing it for the fame at all, even though he carries an Endeavor thing around, and he's the one person that aligned with Endeavor. And
Hawks has, like, made it obvious he wants to be left alone. He's just like, he has to do this so he can, I don't know how he's gonna achieve that. I mean, he made it also evident that he didn't want #1 status. He wanted to make sure that Endeavor was the one that had #1 status.
You sure about that?
He said this directly to him in the last season.
He said he wants Endeavor to be #1.
Yeah, he did not want #1. He was not aiming for that. Actually, I don't even think he intended to. I mean, from everything he said, and I mean, honestly, based on this whole double agent thing, he could have been lying to Endeavor. I mean, and I'm pretty sure Endeavor ain't dumb enough to fall for any real lie, but Hawks is shown to be really helpful, gaining intelligence, stuff like that. I mean, if Hawks knows how dangerous Endeavor is, I highly doubt Hawks would lie to him in his face. And again, I'm not saying Endeavor's all that intelligent, but still, it's just one of those things. It's like I feel like what he told Endeavor might have been the truth.
On the other hand, Endeavor had no idea what Hawks was doing at the time.
Nobody knew what Hawks was doing at the time. I don't think anybody knew that he was infiltrating there until it was like time for them to know. I think the only people who knew was the CIA, the people who trained him.
I mean, people knew that he was infiltrating, like straight up knew.
Who the heck knew? Because the only people that knew was the CIA. Again, the people that trained him.
There's a whole council of people that like gathered together and were talking about how important Hawks was, and Hawks was feeding information back to them.
But who's to say that they knew that as it was happening? Because I think at that point he had already gathered a lot of information and was feeding it back to feeding the intel back.
Every single hero, literally, into a giant like assault to stop this. Like this was the whole point. They need something.
He fed the information to Endeavor first.
This is like this goes back all the way to like the earliest episodes when they like suspected there was someone like spying on them in the first place.
We still don't know who the mole is, by the way.
We do know who the mole is. It's that superhero guy that went around in a cape that they caught like because he was the only one that didn't know what was going on. And we saw him in the hovering guy, the guy that like walks with his feet sort of off the ground and looks like a meathead. And you're telling me he's not the mole?
I must have glanced over all that information. I knew what he was doing, but at the same time, I was like, I guess I didn't think he was the mole. Slide and Go didn't seem like the kind of guy that would have access to all that information. But then again, who knows? Who the heck knows who has information to what? You're probably right. He was the mole, probably.
the information wasn't that secretive. It was like the heroes, the training kids are going to be here. You know, it wasn't like that deep in. It wasn't like someone's secret name or something.
We'll get to that later.
What I'm saying is like it's not like they found out someone's secret identity, like or some really top secret thing. It was like something that almost anybody in the agency could have known. It was like, oh yeah, the heroes are going to be here right at this time.
I don't know. They made like a big deal about like the villains finding their campsite spot that was supposed to be hidden.
But is it really a secret? Like they were just like they piled them all into a bus and they went out there. The kids didn't know, but like, is it really that much of a secret that no hero would know that that was going on? Anyway, we knew at least one mole was that guy. That he was at least one double agent. I'll grant you that like maybe he's not the only one, but he's at least one of them.
I don't know. They made such a big deal about like how they found like the campsite. They made. I mean, this is after they realized there was a mole. But it just seems like to me. I don't know. Like I feel like, I feel like there's like, I feel like this isn't like public knowledge. It's basically I don't think the public knows that this is where the heroes are at all times.
Yeah,
I feel like that'd be a security concern.
yeah, that's fair enough. So, like I said, I grant you that, but he was at least one of the moles because we saw him hanging out with those people, and then we see him apprehended
And also,
later.
why would he even know about the training exercise? He's not a part of it. I feel like maybe the only people who would need to know about the training exercise would be the people who were supposed to be, doing it. I think I'll give you the the very first attack that they had in season one. I'll give you that. Probably he definitely knew where that was happening. But I feel like the camp training thing, which was supposed to help the kids get stronger, I feel like that would have been so buried in paperwork and just all kinds of computer stuff that you would have to be deep in there somewhere to be able to access all the information. That's just me. Because they made a big deal about how important this was.
So, moving on, do you think that? No, 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 because I think we've exhausted that for the time being, but I think it was really interesting. Do you think that the students are too powerful right now? That they're becoming like a little too OP?
No, no. I think their progression of power is kind of like on track, if I would say. I mean, some of them I didn't even know they were going to be able to. I mean, the thing is, like, you make it seem like, yeah, a lot of them incapacitated villains, but it was a lot of them. And I'm pretty sure, like, all that training they were doing, the training that we did see and the training that we did not see, I'm pretty sure a lot of them had gained more control with their abilities.
They're not just incapacitating villains. They're like one-shotting like major villains. Like when Dark Shadow like sends his shadow down there just alone to like take on like a whole crapload of villains, or the electric guy like raises his finger.
I mean, that was an electric. I mean, that was like an ultimate move that Tokiyami sent down there though. It wasn't really just. I mean, I know it was Dark Shadow. It was kind of like an ultimate move of everything that he trained up to do with to be able to like take advantage of what he was good at.
Up until that moment, that guy was a really big deal.
Yeah, I mean, he got demoted. I mean, like he wasn't that important after his fight with Shigaraki.
Yeah, I don't know. He was certainly no slouch, and suddenly he's like just being like Dark Shadow
Well, he
wasn't
lost
even
his leg, man. You saw that when he was trying to hold back Tokiyami's shadow. His prosthetic gave way.
Yeah, but the other guy's like 16. And not like a veteran, like well-established top-tier villain. And the guy that walks out, he's like, "I'm gonna wipe all these guys out in one shot," and he seemed like he had
I
a good
mean,
reason to.
I see I see where you're getting at, but at the same time, like, I mean, I don't really. I mean, I guess this comes down to the whole preference thing, and I know that you didn't enjoy Deku gaining 50% control of Dark Web after he just awoke it. But again, it has a lot to do with this story, how the story is going, and like what the villains are doing. I mean, because like basically what you're asking for and this is what I believe what you're asking for. What you're asking for is if you wanted to stop the power creep on the heroes, what you're asking really for is that Shigaraki is going to take over, and it's just going to be this like no holds bar thing with villains taking out heroes. I mean, at some point, even the pro heroes are not going to be able to stop what's happening.
Okay,
I mean, All Might's gone. I mean, All Might's just a husk of his former self. There's no way he can help. Racer can only turn off so many crooks at one time. They all have to be within in his view, his field of view. Endeavor literally will overheat if he fights too long. It's like, I mean, a lot of these heroes have. I feel like the whole point of these little kids, at least the class 1A and 2, they're special, and they want to really like speed up their growth. It's kind of like what they've been doing for the last couple of seasons, is kind of putting them into hyperbolic time training.
okay.
Speeding up their ability to get better. Normally, yeah, they shouldn't be able to probably incapacitate an army of villains, but because they're being sped up, and that's kind of the whole they've been stating this. I think after season 1, they said we need to really, something's coming. We need to speed up the training of these new heroes. We're gonna need them. For me,
So
I guess it's
fat
not that big of a deal. Sorry.
so Fat Gum is literally reduced to being a taxi service. Um, Cementos was really good and did something significant. It was really good and did something really significant. Who else of the pro heroes did anything to like earn their keep that day?
Mirko? I'm not sure if you said her name because you kind of cut out when you were listing off the heroes. Endeavor prior to all this was like taking out Nomus. Yeah, it took him a while, but I mean, so far he's been the only one that can actually literally stop a Nomu in his tracks. Well, besides All
Well,
Might, but All Might wasn't able to take it out.
probably the next most effective was the buddy hero. To be completely fair, but some of these kids were like as good as the top tier heroes, and like when I say like they were better than like they were like on par with like the top 3 or 4 contributing pro heroes that were on the field that day. It's a lot.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I just like, for me, it's like I feel like they're not gonna crest at this point. I feel like they're just gonna get stronger. Again, they've been treating class 1A and 1B, because they were just one class that came in together, but they got separated because there wasn't enough room in a classroom for them, so they got separated to 1A and 1B. They were treating these kids as like the next generation. I feel like, to me, it's like the training that they've been through. Yeah, a lot of it wasn't, there was a half of it wasn't seen. I know you have a problem with that, but it's like, again, like, I mean, at some point they had to like speed up, what the villains are doing. And if you were to literally not have any of the heroes grow and have the villains get stronger, I feel like you end up with a really, like, the plot, at least in my opinion, couldn't progress in a good way, because you just have Shigaraki or whoever he left in charge, decimating cities. I mean, would that have been cool to see? I guess Shigaraki win a couple of like, I mean, sure, but we saw him win a couple of times before already. I don't think we need seeing anybody. I guess, I mean, you can make an argument for Toga maybe, but like, even her, like, her ability only just awoke for her ability to copy abilities besides the appearance. Um,
But instead of operating as a team like the X-Men or something like that, they're like soloing it. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't it be more interesting if they were like working as a team and supporting each other like they've been trained to throughout the
I
previous
feel like they were
episodes?
though. I mean, when they like took out, like, when they took out that army before that taser dude showed up. I mean, the Mudman made the ground all gooey, and then the fungi, as they were trying to get out, the fungi girl pretty much made it impossible for them to move with her fungus. And I believe there was a third person that got involved. I forgot it. I don't know what he did or she did.
Isn't it fair to say that like that was another example of like the students being kind of OP though?
I don't know. Like, I kind of understand what you're saying, but at the same time, like when you talk like that, all I'm seeing is really the worst of everything. It's like, okay, if we literally decap them at their kneecaps, making so you don't have these, you don't, I guess, have the training necessary right now to handle this. We really all we end up was the villains winning. And not saying villains winning isn't like wouldn't be good pushing the story, but at the same time, I was like, okay, when that happens, nobody can stop him. I mean, not even Deku right now, and he's still trying to learn what's left in his abilities right now. His ability tank. It would not be enough time because Shigaraki would probably come out by this point and then decimate everybody.
Yeah. On the other hand, we could literally have the writers can literally make as many heroes as they feel like making.
I mean, that's the other way they could introduce new villains, but I mean new heroes, but like would
they could have
would that be like a cop out though, versus just using what they already have? I mean, do we really need another like guaranteed OP hero showing up out of nowhere?
Well, I mean, Bunny Girl's pretty OP, and she kind of shows up out of nowhere.
Who?
The Bunny character is pretty OP, and she kind of showed up. I don't remember seeing her before.
Really? She was in the when they introduced her. Unless you're joking. At the same time, it was like she got introduced during the when they had to reevaluate the heroes standing when All Might disappeared. She was number 5 or 7. Granted,
she's up there. But I was like, oh, this happened. Like I didn't remember her, so she just felt like out of nowhere.
But she was there, and I remember one thing that she said that stood out to me, and what she did here really stood out to me is that she was not happy about where her standing was. She wanted to get better. She said she needed to show up these new heroes.
Oh, interesting.
And then she does this. I forgot the exact line and like what episode it was. I need to find it. But she does say that she's not happy where her standing is officially, and then she does this. To me, when they do reevaluate, whenever they do reevaluate, I feel like she needs to go up at least 3 standings at this point. She needs to be number 3, in my opinion, unless somebody else shows up. I'm not gonna say that she's good to be number 2 or number 1. I feel like she deserves the 3rd spot though. So I think current number 3 is it the guy that poked the holes through the hearts?
Poke the holes through the zap guy, the guy that kind of like shot edge shot or something, right?
Is that Edge Shot? I don't know who number 3 is. There's somebody number 3 and I don't remember the person's name.
It's Endeavor, Hawks, Edge Shot, and then there's a lot of characters that like I just don't know whose standings are out there. Like the
but honestly, I feel like she deserves number 3 and number 4. I feel like at this point, she literally has shown that she's capable of taking, granted these Nomus can regenerate, but she's shown that she can cut through Nomus. This is something that I feel like using a Nomu as a benchmark for ability is actually really what they need to be doing, because these things are strong and not every hero has the capability of taking on a Nomu. Crust showed he couldn't take on a Nomu. The regeneration was too much for him to overcome. I feel like maybe the Bunny Girl had more time, maybe she could overcome the regeneration, but she took off some hits and stuff like that. She was like really good. She was I see why the fans really like her.
Yeah, I do too. I thought she was fantastic. I'm really enjoying the whole action scene and everything else. They made a good hero out of her.
They really used her. Granted, they really as in episode 4, as we see, she's kind of I don't think she's gonna be running around anytime soon.
Yeah, I think she might have gone the way of the guy in the previous one. I'm sorry, Best Jeanist, where he was a high level ranking hero, and now he's kind of fallen out because apparently he's been super injured or something.
Was there a 3rd question you had?
It wasn't a question. I think that she might go the way of Best Jeanist, where Best Jeanist kind of fell off, like afterwards, like presumably because of injuries.
I don't know. Best Jeanist might come back.
I mean, sure.
No, it's Best Jeanist is number 3.
We haven't seen much of Best Jeanist in a long time.
Yeah, but he'll still retain being the top 3. But it is Best Jeanist. I remember that. Best Jeanist is number 3. He got number three after his encounter with All for One.
Does he remain number 3? Is he like really still?
As far as
number
I'm
3?
aware, yeah, he's number 3. He's still number 3. Like I think they even poke fun as like even with him out of action, he still is one of the top 3. He actually managed to, even though he wasn't there at the ceremony, he got number 3, and that might have been why Mirko was upset. Dude, that might have been a part of it.
Well, I don't know. Genus did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that, like, you know, he was out of commission, and yet he still managed to score at the top.
I mean,
yeah, I guess might have been one of the reasons why she was upset. You know, he wasn't present, you know, and he was out of commission for a while, but he still managed to score up at the top.
When it comes to fighting, I felt like he was a Genus.
I'm understanding because apparently, you know, Bakugo wants to show him his real name, I'm guessing. So it's like, at some point, well, I guess we'll see that. I hope that wasn't just like one of those like we're gonna say this but never make it happen, because they could.
So your final verdict on the heroes is that it's okay that Dark Shadow one-shotted Redestro.
Did he really one-shot him? I don't think he was like. I think the only thing he did was like break his leg. Because I don't even think that his shadow even finished him. He literally saw the big guy and ran. Well, I know Redestro's still like he's still standing. Well,
better than he ever did.
Huh?
Better than he ever did. Looking like a true survivor, but feeling like a little kid.
I mean, the only thing he lost his leg, but it's like I don't think he really truly defeated him. Yeah, did he push him back? Yeah, but again, that was like one of his super moves that he used. And even then, it's like I feel like when the struggle was happening, I feel like Redestro had like Redestro was like really holding back the technique. The only reason why he even fell back was because his prosthetic, you know, gave out. And prosthetics aren't supposed to be able to. I don't think he was using his prosthetic right. It was supposed to just be there for him to stand, but he wasn't supposed to be using it to push back an attack.
I mean, okay.
I could be wrong about that, but I don't think like what I understood, like, you know, after he was pushing it back, it looked like he was probably gonna finish him, but then the shadow said no. Like there's a big guy down there, and then they brought up that okay, he won't do anything as long as nobody gives him any instructions.
They weren't even talking about Redestro though.
Hmm?
I don't think he was talking about the Redestro when he referenced the big guy.
I know he wasn't talking about like he even says that like I think he even says Redestro is like no, not him, the other guy.
Yeah. But
again, like Redestro, like I think the reason why he fell back was because that leg broke. I mean, Redestro did not have his like right leg because of what Shigaraki did to him. Whatever that thing was made out of, it wasn't strong enough to withstand an attack.
Must stink to be him, huh?
I mean, yeah, he didn't have a leg to stand on. But then
I wondered about the why they were just ripping the like ground apart with these people, but like then I realized they're not. This isn't an army of villains, it's an army of citizens. Like it's an army of people that believe in a cause, but not necessarily like people that are contributors to the cause in that sense. So I thought that was an interesting insight that like at first I was watching this, I'm like, wow, they're really tearing through these people like they're nothing, but they really aren't. It's like a room full of class Bs on first day, except their quirks aren't as powerful. Like if they're tearing through these people, it's because like it's like a field full of jabronis. Like almost everybody here is not very well trained in fighting techniques. So that like at first I was a little bit skeptical about that, and then I thought about that and I was like, all right, this makes some sense to me. I'm trying to. So they hint at Gigantomachina. Being like literally and figuratively the sleeping giant there and just staring at his recorder. What do you think they're building up with that?
I don't have to think. I know what they're building up. Like Shigaraki telling him to go ham.
He'll listen to Shigaraki. Is that what they're building up?
Yeah, that's literally what happened with those two were fighting on that mountain that was building up. Shigaraki is like a physical being.
No, when they were fighting there, the scientist guy had a recording of All for One that
No,
told
but
him.
at some point later on during their little skirmish, he definitely recognized Shigaraki as his master. That was one of the winning factors during their
Okay.
little My Villain Academia arc.
It's been a minute since I've seen it, so you'll have to bear with me.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm not angry at you. I'm just saying that that's one of like that was one of the building factors. He will listen to him now.
Don't be angry at me, Game Hunter. I'm sorry.
I'm not. He will listen to Shigaraki now. Now, I mean, like I said before, like I don't think he can even like because like they use the voice modulator for All for One's voice, so like All for One is nowhere near to even give him any orders.
So
So
later
that's
when
another thing too. He told Shigaraki if he can beat him, he will listen to him. And I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
that makes
I
sense to
think they
me.
cut away from it, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened because I think they alluded to that's what happened.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense to me if that was the case. So, so Shigaraki is in that jar. I know I'm heading ahead a little bit here. So, given that Gigantomachina is just sitting there waiting to be told to do something, like almost like a Nomu, um, it becomes twice as important because I would say that, I mean, Shigaraki is obviously the more powerful of the two, but like, um, he's pretty powerful, and if they don't stop Shigaraki from coming out, like the first thing he could easily do is summon that guy to take over, and I think that giant guy is going to be able to handle like most of the heroes outside. Which brings me to a theory I had that I was telling Jesse about when I was watching this. Shigaraki cut his teeth like in a big way in the process of fighting Gigantomachina and had a breakthrough in his power as a result of that fight, correct?
It was some
Okay.
fight. I mean, it might have been that fight. I think it was a different fight, but it might have been that fight.
There was a level of like breakthrough going on there where Shigaraki discovered his new powers because he was worn down, and it was sort of like a classic like Dragon Ball-esque kind of moment where like he discovered his new powers at his greatest moment of duress.
Well, I mean, the way they made it seem like it was that he was limiting himself when he realized that he was doing that is when he broke through. It was still a
Right, but
breakthrough, but you know, whatever.
like most significant anime heroes, like he realized it when the chips are down. You know, like he got pushed to his limit, and they came through. So then we have Deku, who is the going back to the theme of like foils here, like of exact polar opposites. We have Deku here, who is established as kind of the exact opposite of Shigaraki, like the one that All Might chose to be his selected one instead of the other way around. And what I think might happen next is that Deku is going to be the one that has to take down Gigantomachina and beat him. And that as he's doing it, one of his next powers will be unlocked. And he will also like unleash a new power, just like Shigaraki did.
I guess that makes sense, but like,
It makes poetic sense because they need to show that right now Shigaraki is like 2 whole levels ahead of Deku because he's not only is he unlocked his new power.
my like what I was alluding to is it wasn't that. It was more of like Deku is nowhere even near that fight. Now, I honestly they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do to get him over there, but I don't know what would make plot like story wise plot relevance for him to suddenly jump over from team. Is he on team? Is he on team Edgeshot or is he on team Endeavor?
I mean, how about the simple fact that you can kind of see Gigantomachina from a distance?
I don't think he's that big.
Gigantomachina tends to stand out. And it's not like they're not on comms. Like, they're going to be able to hear what's going on, right? Deku has super speed. They're on comms. Like, it's not going to be that outrageous to, like, get him involved.
I feel like they had to have him like have a good reason, and I mean, any reason would probably be a good reason regardless. But it just like he's nowhere near that skirmish. Like a lot of like their top players from like Class 1A are even nowhere near there. Even with the class from the people that were a part of 1A, they're in Fat Gum's stomach running in the complete opposite direction. And again, like Gigante Machina isn't really giant. That's Mount Lady. He's big, but like he isn't like towering over a building big.
We saw him towering over trees and stuff, so he can tower over at least some buildings.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, if what your theory is correct, I mean, it makes sense. The only thing is like, I wonder like what in the world what would Gigante Machina have to do to like, cause like Deku. No, those powers come out when he's in distress. Never mind. I don't know, I thought he had to go into his mind to discover those abilities, but no, those things pop out on their own. At least so far as we've seen. Like, I mean, the Black Whip came out on his own. Was the only ability? Oh no, they're trying to get Deku was trying to learn how to float. That was the next ability that All Might brought up. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I mean, in my opinion, it makes sense that the storyline would line up really well for him to unlock a new power at that moment. And have him line up against the guy that Shigaraki like cut his teeth on. And when Shigaraki comes out, he's still going to be a cut ahead because whatever's happening to him in that tank is still going to be his new like strength. So he's still going to be one step behind the bad guy at that point, but I think that this guy's like the fight with that thing would make him stronger and would bring something out of him.
I mean, that makes sense. I guess we can use this as a segue. Are we done with episode 3? Or I mean, yeah, episode 3. All right.
Yeah, we can be done with episode 3. Let me just look really quick through my notes here.
Stop in the segue. Taking the batteries out.
I thought it was funny, Dark Shadow riding in fact on his stomach and him calling himself a taxi, but that's not a big deal.
You mean the fat taxi? Oh, that never so.
Another similarity between Hawks and Twice is that they both kill a hero. Have we had a hero die before?
Nope.
Well, Eel Boy dies in this episode, so the first hero and the first villain death happen in the same time, and it's Twice and Hawks doing it.
A hero doesn't die? Wait, what?
Eel Boy died.
Oh, you talking about that guy with the snake things?
Yeah, he was Eel Boy. So he dies, and the first villain confirmed kill happens at the same time as the first hero confirmed kill. So that's one more parallel between Twice and Hawks. And then at 1640 in the episode, Twice references the dangerous thing he did to prove himself to Dobby that involved Best Jeanist. Do you have any idea what that was? They get super specific about it, like we should have an idea, but I have no idea. Or they might be teasing something that comes up, but it was just an interesting little, like, it was so quickly, like, here and there, that here and gone, that it was like almost an Easter egg.
I'm pretty sure they're referring to that conversation that they had, I guess during their first meeting. So I'm pretty sure I mean, like, before the villains weren't open, they weren't open arms or whatever. He had to really earn their trust. I mean, Dobby claimed that he never trusted him, so I mean, there's that.
Yeah, I don't doubt that Dobby mistrusted him. I mean, if nothing else, it's personality now too. But they made such a specific reference to him doing something to prove himself that I bet I had, and we also had.
Oh, you know what that probably was? You brought it up when talking about Hawks. twice, I believe. I think they're referring to Hawks leading Endeavor into that trap.
Involving Best Genius, though. What did Best Genius have to do with that?
He said Best Genius?
Yeah. In 1640 or so. I put the time signature down because I knew you were going to wonder when I told you.
Oh, don't go over that. Oh, 1640. Sorry, I'm drunk over here.
Even though I did so many dangerous.
Say Best Genius. They just had they just had an image of him with Best Genius. I don't think he killed him. Maybe he just injured him a little bit more.
But did they only show Best Genius in the room? Is that what happened?
Yeah, they did. The Best Genius' name didn't actually come up. They just had the that scene when we first see Best Genius for the first time in years.
Right. It threw me off. It was like very interesting to me that he showed up. I mean, I'm sorry I'm wrong about him mentioning him by name, but Best Genius was involved. It was just a weird person to throw in there, like when he's completely out of the picture for the most part right now.
I don't think Best Genius is dead because they would have brought that up.
I don't think he's dead, but like, what the hell? You know?
I don't think he's dead though.
I don't think he's dead either, but what the hell? What's he doing here?
I don't know. I mean, like I remember that scene when he was talking with him, and I think I do remember. I think they do show that, and they cut away, and we never. And that might have been like the very first episode of season 5. I believe. I don't know. I'll have to go and confirm that, but he probably incapacitated him or something. Wait a minute, wasn't there like wasn't there a scene where Hawks was flying above the sky with a duffel bag?
Well, now I have no idea. I'm sorry.
Because I'm thinking there's specific scenes. I think I remember this only because I didn't trust Hawks at the time when this was all happening. Still kind of don't.
Still fair.
But I don't know. It's just like if there. I guess when you say that, like maybe we don't know what he did yet, and they're gonna reveal what he did. I hope he didn't kill Best Genius though. I feel like that would have made news if Best Genius died. I would have found out about it. I wouldn't have told you about it, but that would have been news. I would have found out about it regardless of what I wanted.
For sure.
I don't remember even hearing that he died. There was speculation that he might have died, but that was like during his encounter with All For One.
Yeah, but maybe they just wanted you to kind of start wondering about him. You know what I mean? Maybe they didn't tell what was going on so that you could have it in the back of your mind and then be like,
there was a meeting between him and Dabi, and that's when Dabi said that you have my trust, but obviously that was a lie. So there was something going on between them two. I don't remember what the details are.
Anyway, so that was a point that I just, if we don't know, then like just keep that in the back of your mind, because I thought that had to be significant to some extent.
Maybe he was the one that... But no, Hawks wasn't even present. No. Back before they redid everything with the with like the hero, you know, when All Might was still on the podium as being number 1. Endeavor was number 2. We did not know who number 3 was, and it wasn't Best Genius at the time. I feel like it was Hawks. And I say that because when they redid everything and they moved Endeavor up to number 1, they had to move number 3 to number 2. Bless you.
Sorry, I've got a persistent cough I just can't shake.
I feel like number 3 was Hawks at the time. I say that because number 3 was like a big mystery and nobody knew who the heck it was. Like they purposely hid number 3. Like nobody knew who number 3 was. And then like we hear that Endeavor gets to be number one. We figured number three had to be moved to number two because Endeavor was number two and got moved to number one. That's what I figured, and it makes sense. You know, if you don't want to go through all this rigmarole of figuring out who's in redoing all this, you just move out number two to number one and number three to number two, and you like they already mixed up all the ones from like 4 to 10. So I feel like maybe what I was gonna say before I took all that turn was I think maybe it's possible that if it is to believe that maybe Hawks has been working with the heroes from a long time ago, it is possible that maybe Hawks led Best Jeanist into that trap. Maybe that's why we saw Best Jeanist in that hotel since the first time we saw him last time.
Very fair.
Maybe Hawks has something to do with that. Because there have been before Twice does disappear, will die. He flashes back to all the times that he was with Hawks, and there was a lot of times when there was an attack that happened that no one else saw, and we know that Hawks is really fast. We see this in his encounter with Dabi. He was getting around really quickly, even though he was like obviously tight match was bad.
Yeah, we'll have to see what goes on with that. I'm super curious to see where that goes. But I don't know. I think at this point we'd have to like go offline and look some things up. But anyone listening to this, or have you been checking Twitch chat at all?
I haven't seen anything.
Anyone that's listening that has any or podcast or whatever, like I'd love to hear any theories from anybody else that might know what's going on here. I know I've asked for the stuff like that before, but I always hope that like we'll get some really cool insights from somebody. So we covered a lot of episode 17 at this point, right? 117. Inheritance.
I guess we have. I guess what I wanted to, as a segue into 117, or to continue the conversation, you bring up that like parallels, and it became really evident, and it blew my mind as it was happening near the end of episode 117, when Miracle, well, we'll back up. After everything that happens in the death of Twice in episode 116, we come back. There's a confrontation with Hawks and Dabi. And there's even like a little bit of like a shocker on Hawks' part, where apparently for some reason Dabi knows Hawks' real name, and Hawks even asks who you are. And in classic, we're not going to tell you what's really going on here until several episodes later. They cut Dabi's voice out, and we just see his lips flapping, and what he says to Hawks shocks him. And as it's happening, he's burning him. So whatever was said to him was something that Hawks was not expecting. And Hawks has been pretty prepared all the way up to this point, sometimes over prepared. Even though Hawks knows that he's a bad matchup for Flame, I'm actually kind of wondering what does he have he has to have something to allow himself to be at least able to get away from a Flame type quirk. But it didn't seem like he had it. Whatever it could have been at the time that Dabi showed up.
Well, when they ask him what his trick is, he's like, "Whoa, just hit him first." So
he's gonna get back up to that, because he's got to know that's not always gonna work.
I wonder if it was just him kind of being lame because he really didn't know what to do.
Maybe.
It sounded like he really doesn't know.
I mean, his feathers get burned, and he has to wait 2 to 3 days for them to regrow back. So I guess it makes sense that maybe he doesn't know. He doesn't have a way to fight back.
He's barely got any feathers by the time Dabi's like done some good work on him. There's a lot of like important heroes here that are at their edge. The bunny girl is at their edge. Hawks is like really down for the count, and I feel like Eraserhead is being very targeted right now. And Eraserhead is fairly vulnerable to being targeted because he doesn't really have a lot of power. He's best when he's like kind of in the background.
Well, yeah, when they don't know how to activate his quirk. I guess one thing before we go off with the Dobby and Hawks fight, because like we said it, I guess, as much as we could about Hawks and Dobby, as much as was like let on. Dobby brings up the fact that like Hawks was saying like, why are you smiling? That after I killed your friend, and he says that I'm not smiling. I can't cry because I've burnt my tear ducts. I don't know why they even brought that up, but I feel like that's important to something in his background. Considering that a lot of him is actually burnt, not just his eyelids.
Sounded like generic villain speak to me, but I could see how it could maybe be more.
No, but like I mean, a lot of him is burnt though, and they decided to bring up his tear ducts. To me, that's the actions. To me, that seems like the actions of somebody who does not want to cry ever again. Like they were crying a lot as a kid.
Like, I can't cry anymore.
I mean, exactly. I feel like, I mean, another thing about Dobby in this episode too is like he seems very psychotic. There've been various situations where Dobby seems to be the most sane one in the group. I use that in quotation marks. Dobby seems to be the most sane one in the group, compared to Toga, or even Twice for that matter. But then there's been scenes like this where he's off on his own and he's doing his own thing, and he seems to be the most unhinged. And this is one of those situations too where it's like he seems very unhinged. And I guess with the whole like Stain thing you brought up earlier, he brings up that he's really here to, you know, carry out Stain's will. Which explains why, to me, Dobby didn't seem like he fit in with the group. A lot of times he just did his own thing and he didn't care what anybody else thought. I guess that explains it.
He's not the only one.
Well, I mean, him and Spinner. Spinner.
Yeah, he's not the only one that we know of. I thought it was interesting to learn that there was like a second Stain acolyte kind of character. Spinner's always been the one.
I mean, technically you say three because you got Toka, then you have Spinner, and then him. I like to know where like, Dobby was, I guess, during that whole speech of Stain was carrying out. Like, obviously he was somewhere nearby. People that heard Stain say this obviously were either listened to him on the radio, I believe, or somehow they got his message. So it's one of those things. I just don't know where he could have been during that whole encounter. But that really matters. I said he just seems to be the most unhinged here as he was saying all that, and he was just grinning insane, like ear to ear. Like I think like at this point, like we're gonna probably start seeing a lot more of Dobby doing things. Because like there's been too many episodes where he's either just been in the background doing something for the villain group, or he's doing something like this where he's just smiling all creepily for no reason, being psychotic. He's had two personalities shown of him, and that second one is kind of creepy.
He's of two minds.
Right, could be. It's on from there. Let's talk about Murkrow and then the Nomus and everything that's going on in there. I guess actually this includes Eraserhead too. You're the whole like Eraserhead seems to be better when he's not being targeted. It's kind of interesting that one of the Nomus, at least the one that I guess is the lady, it was interesting that they were showing electricity as she was going through her thought process of how her quirk wasn't working and what was causing it. And on top of that, goes from conflict to resolution almost a few seconds. Like she was obviously thinking, as you could tell, and it was like a weird thing. I don't think we've ever seen like a Nomu's thought process before, and obviously this is a higher end one.
With a thought before. Huh? I don't think we've ever seen a Nomu with a thought process before. Like if we're being,
I mean, the high ends. The high end that Endeavor fought had a thought process. It wasn't the most beautiful, articulate thought process. It wasn't like this thought process where you could definitely see that it was intelligent and it was obviously thinking through what it was doing. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was like, I feel like this was a more of a higher end, higher end Nomu.
Yeah, I agree.
But I mean, whatever. I mean, like, it obviously knew what was happening, and it caught Eraserhead off guard when it ran away. Um, which is actually the most intelligent thing to do with somebody who can erase your abilities, get away from them. Um, and then because of that, Eraserhead could only like take down like 3 with his gaze. It's interesting that the Nomu decided to run away versus trying to blind him. I feel like a Nomu tried blinding him at one point, but that one didn't. It just like ran away. So I guess it seems to think better than I guess most of the other Nomus.
For sure.
For whatever reason.
I'm sure we'll find out why.
And because of that, it literally like Murkrow, like I guess like hero of the day or hero of the episode. My goodness, I said this before, but I understand why people like her. Came out of nowhere. She came out of nowhere and pretty much did a lot of work.
She definitely put in work. I thought the animations of her fighting were extremely fun. You had to love the tenacity of her, that she just kept getting up like over and over and over again until she was just down and nobody could blame her for not moving.
Even with that, I mean, even when it came down to most characters that have her fighting style and brute force strength and personality don't think to, okay, I can't keep doing this. They're always getting better. I need to go after the brain. And she just dipped for him. Like she didn't even like, she didn't care what the Nomos were doing. She ran for him. And I figured it was the best. It was in her best effort to destroy the glass that Shigaraki was in, but she almost did.
She doesn't think about getting away. She thinks about pushing forward. You know, like she's not like, boy, I'm really screwed right now. I better like get out of here. Like she's like, all right, how can I move forward with complete like abandonment of my own personal health and interest, and do something to advance the cause. And she's like, that guy, I'm gonna go after that guy, even though he's the only one trying not to kill me. Like she is like leans right into it, and I think that was super interesting and heroic of her to take that on when like she was basically doomed.
Also, Brad, this has been stuck in my head ever since it's been happening with her being in the episodes. A lot of her attacks are like lunar. They're based off the moon. This is a stretch, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Do you think this could be a reference to the rabbit on the moon from Dragon Ball?
No. Both of them could be a reference to some other rabbit in Japanese mythology that we're not familiar with for sure.
But it can't be Usagi. That's for sure. I don't know if there's any other rabbit on the moon, and you know, I guess I can look this up while this is happening.
I mean, I bet that there's a rabbit on the moon character somewhere in anime that like is a theme of some sort that most people would be familiar with.
Well, there's a rabbit, there's a moon rabbit story. Tales from Japan.
Yeah, so that's probably it.
But this happened. This was a reference in Dragon Ball. That's why there was a rabbit on the moon in Dragon Ball.
Right, and that's why there's one here. So it's not a Dragon Ball reference. It's a rabbit on the moon reference. It's probably the
moon rabbit. This is probably what is responsible for it. The moon rabbit, or moon hare, is a mythical figure in East Asian and indigenous American folklore, based on pareidola interpretations that identify the dark markings on the near side of the moon as a rabbit or hare. In East Asia, the rabbit is seen as pounding with a mortar and pestle, but the contents of the mortar differ among Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and Vietnamese folklore. In Chinese folklore, a rabbit is often portrayed as a companion of the moon goddess Changi, constantly pounding the elixir of life for her, and some show the makings of cakes or rice cakes. But in Japanese and Korean versions, the rabbit is pounding the ingredients for mochi or some type of rice cake. In Vietnamese version, the moon rabbit often appears with anga. I'm gonna butcher all these. I apologize to anybody from these from the eastern part of this world. I'm butchering the names in your folklore stories. Chukyu whatever. And unlike the Chinese version, the Vietnamese rabbit also pound an elixir of immortality in the mortar. It's kind of funny that she's attacking the guy with the ability to prolong his life. And a lot of the stories that seem like this is based off of the rabbit is helping pound life elixir out of something.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, the guy that prolongs his life, all he would need to do to die would just be like to have Eraserhead look at him.
That's assuming he's already lived out the I guess the humanity that was normally within him. It's another thing too, is that isn't really, he doesn't have that quirk in him anymore. He gave it to All for One. He just has a copy of it.
Yeah, but I mean, he still has the copy. We know that would happen because Eraserhead looked at one of his copies and it erased the quirk of the copy, but it didn't erase the copy itself. And he went, interesting. I'll have to make note of that. And then he does, and that's that part of the story. But if Eraserhead so much has looked at this guy now, the quirk keeping him alive is that is doing all this. So there you go.
I guess that makes sense. I guess we can actually get to the, I guess the last bit of this is actually kind of important, and it is about the copies of the quirks. A lot gets dropped here about what the plan of All for One was. At least a part of it anyway. I'm not sure what the ultimate plan was. I'm starting to see why he was not worried when he got captured. He literally just made it like, I mean, again, I guess it makes sense. I think I asked this question many podcast episodes ago, that I wonder if it's possible for All for One to pass on his ability to somebody else. Well, we found out apparently he passed it on to Shigaraki, and that was why he was inside that cylinder. That scares me heavily.
Why?
Well, this quirk, he can just take abilities from people as he sees fit, give them to people as he sees fit, and use them as he sees fit. That scares me because, All for One, he's a methodical person. He doesn't do anything without a reason. He took Shigaraki in and raised him as his own son for a reason. Shigaraki, even though he's gotten better, Shigaraki is still the most unhinged character of them all. He likes to react emotionally a lot of the times. Even if he doesn't mean to, he'll typically act emotionally. Now, as the series has gone on, he's kind of gotten better about it, and has gotten, like, I think I said this before, like, Shigaraki, like, if it wasn't for his emotional state, he'd be the most dangerous villain that they would ever have to deal with, because of his background and of his he is intelligent. He isn't stupid. His only issue, well, one of his many issues, is his insecurity, his emotional status. A lot of the issues that kind of hindered him, and that's why the heroes weren't really all that concerned with him. He wasn't that big of a, he was just a little kid with a toy gun pretending to be a bad guy. As we've seen, he's gotten better, he's grown up, he's changed. This scares me because even with the decay quirk, okay, he can only decay what he sees fit. I mean, this could be dangerous. There's a way to stop him. As long as he doesn't touch anything, he'll be good. Now that he not only has the abilities of his master, he has the okay from his master. He has the recognition from his master. At this point, like, the only thing preventing him from doing anything dangerous is him being asleep. Murako even brings up the fact that she did not want to wake him up because he is no longer a naughty boy, as she put it. I don't know what he's capable of, what powers he has stored up within him. The uncertainty is what makes me really nervous about what Shigaraki's gonna do. Up to this point, he just was a metaphorical threat. He wasn't really a threat. Now he's dangerous. Everything that All for One, as you said, has come to pass. He's done everything. All for One has not lost anything really that badly. The only thing you can say that he's lost is his free will, but the man's smiling behind bars as he knows he's gonna get out.
If he cares about getting out so much, it's like he's like, all I have to do is just sit and enjoy it.
But I feel like he knows he's gonna get out. It's the type of grand night. Like, I know I don't have to do anything. I just gotta sit here and look pretty.
He knows get out, but I don't think he cares about that as the point.
But basically, what I'm saying, like, he's already essentially won. Is what he's already said. He's already won. But it's like, to me, it's like Shigaraki is just this bomb that's just been a ticking time bomb that's like has a detonation time, and it's just been slowly ticking to like, well, to the end of this episode where he wakes up after essentially casting off his former life and walking directly into All for One, even though at the behest of his family saying, please don't do it. He's no longer acting emotional. He's acting almost like All for One. He's being calm. He's like, don't get in my way. And then he wakes up, and that spells a bad sign for the hero that President Mike decided to leave with him. We didn't see a villain die before. Well, I mean, a hero die before, which we did. We're gonna see one die again.
It's all going down now.
Like this, like he ultimately, like Shigaraki really just spells like, obviously as the protagonist of the show, he's gonna go like Deku's gonna not kill him, but he's gonna take him down. But like for right now, like Shigaraki's scared, and I think I believe I stated this before. Shigaraki, the idea of Shigaraki being calm scares me, because like a lot of what he's done has been emotional. He hasn't really thought things through. Often when it's told him this several times.
There's been a constant theme that he's just extremely immature.
But he's gotten over that. He's gotten mature. He's probably still got some growing to do. But right now, he is not the same Shigaraki that he was in season 1, and that scares me because it just means that okay, he must have a plan. He put together the paranormal liberation front for a purpose. I'm pretty sure that was just to keep people from getting in his way. Well, now he's out of he wasn't done with his incubation period, but because they were going to kill him, they had to get him out of there. Just like the idea of a free, unhindered Shigaraki actually does terrify me. I don't know what that spells for everybody else, but like, we're going to see him do one big power move, and it's going to probably change the tide of battle in an instant.
Oh, I totally agree. I think all he has to do is walk out, and the battle's now different.
I can see that. Just walks into the battlefield. Shigaraki! Everybody just like, back up!
That's good. That's gonna have to be, like, how do you can't ignore him. It'd be like ignoring the electric guy. Like, he's too big of a player to, like, write off. They've been dealing, like I said, with, like, Class B or lower hero, like, people on day one of, like, being in the academy because, like, it's just not... They're just not good. They're not trained or anything like that. They're not equipped. They've got a couple of good guys, like, effective villains kind of stepping out and helping, but, like, for the most part, there's just not a whole lot going on there. And they're getting a little bit fat on options, you know? So I think when a major player, like a really seasoned, like effective top tier villain comes out, I think things are going to have to change.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, obviously Shigaraki is going to walk in that battlefield. Like, he's going to take care of that hero that's beside him first, and then he's just going to make his way out. Whatever All for One gave him, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't just the ability to take. I'm pretty sure there's some powers that he was stuck holding, and holding on to. Because All for One made sure he didn't get in fights that often. He only ever got involved during All Might's fight. But he made sure that he didn't get involved in the fight, so he didn't have to use any other abilities. So I'm pretty sure he didn't just give Shigaraki the ability to take abilities. I'm pretty sure there's some stuff stockpiled in it for him to use. So Shigaraki's probably gonna first learn what he can do before he learns what he can't do, or vice versa. But that still, again, scares me.
Or
Because
maybe he'll learn what he do.
what?
Or maybe he'll learn what he do.
Kind of cut out there.
I said, or maybe he'll learn what he do, but I just wanted to say do.
I could see that. I gave it to you 3 times there.
You let me say it over and over again. It was really good.
But I guess
Totally
like
lies. Sweet little lies. Sorry.
that's the problem. I guess as we're winding down here, the end of the episode, Shigaraki is now free. He woke up from his nap.
He didn't wake up though, did he?
No, he did. He literally, as he walked into like the image of All for One, you see his body in the real world, like as he almost resuscitated himself.
Where is this? What time signature? Because I see him land on the ground. I'm not going to say he's not. I do see him breathing. Oh yeah, his eye opens at the very last second. I didn't pick up on that. Okay. So he's going to come out and just kind of like curb stomp, I think, for a good long time. It's interesting the people we see fighting in this, though, like in the previews, because like I see Gran Torino there. I'm really looking forward to watching Gran Torino do something. He's like a personal like high favorite for me. I'm excited to see him on the field. Is that silly? I don't know. I really like.
No, I mean, I guess it makes sense that Gran Torino to fight him. I mean, he has a personal connection to Shigaraki, training his grandmother. Yeah, that's correct. He trained his grandmother. So there is some connection there. I mean, All Might can't do anything because he's powerless. So.
I'm just looking forward to him because I like him. It's not even that complicated for me. I just like him.
I was just trying to be like, I was trying to look at it analytically. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, his abilities are cool. I mean, he's an old guy, so I don't like. I suspect he probably won't be doing too much. Granted, age in anime makes you more powerful than anybody else, so we'll see. Got any questions before we wrap up here?
No. Am I supposed to? Like, am I letting you down?
I thought you had 3 questions like the last episode. I thought you had 3 questions for this one.
Okay. I'll make up a question if you really want me to. I just don't have a question.
No, we're good.
You do it. Like, I'll definitely.
You don't have to.
Sure.
We don't need. We don't need that. Whatever you're about to say.
No, there's no question. I already told you my main my main theory is that he's going to come out and fight the Gigantomachina. That's my main theory, is that Midoriya's going to have to prove himself, because he hasn't even really been in this series so far. So he's got to do something eventually.
I guess that's about the end here. I don't know. To me, it's like every time, like for most shows, I look forward to like the main hero, like especially if they're learning fighting a really powerful foe. This series for me, I just never like. I don't know. I fear for Deku, because like Deku kind of came from nothing and is still trying to learn everything. It's not like he even had any formal training.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not like somebody like Bakugo who I say, yeah, I wouldn't see Bakugo fight this guy. Like, I don't like sit here and like clamor to see Deku fight somebody because like I really don't want him to break his arm or something like that. Is that weird?
There's an ongoing theme in this from the heroes. Like, we'll even admit it directly sometimes that like what they're putting him through is kind of cruel. You see the heroes like kind of like cringe a lot because they're just like, man, we shouldn't even be doing this to him.
I mean, honestly, Deku shouldn't even be here. He's only really here because All Might helped him. Deku shouldn't even be here.
Exactly, but like, I mean, even beyond that, like they're like, what if we drag this dude into like, it's sort of cruel what they put him through. You know what I mean? In my opinion, they're like, you're going so hard on him, like you're being so rough on him, to All Might, and like you're like, you got to let up a little bit. And I'm like, you can take it, And meanwhile, Deku's like arms are covered in scars and stuff, and he's like, "Oh, I love you so much, you're my," and he's like, "Yeah," And you feel kind of like, Deku, you schmuck. Like, what are you doing to yourself, man?
I mean, like I said before, I think this is just part of Deku's personality. I think I said this before. Is like I honestly feel like this is all Deku, like his personality as a person. he really wants to help out, and he'll do anything, even put himself in harm's danger. The only reason why he didn't do it before in this world of powers is because he didn't have the power to act on. Now he has that power to act on, so he's now able to, you know, be his genuine self for the first time in a long while.
So thirsty after working all day at the beach. Can I have a cup of water? No. You know.
You cut out a lot there. I got some of that, but like as it was happening, I was like, huh.
I was like, I spent all day working out at the beach.
I think your microphone's like dimming you because of how loud you're screaming into it. I'm not even kidding. I think it can't take it.
I'm not being very loud. I'm being.
Your microphone's doing something to you because like it's definitely not on my end. It's your microphone's doing something. Microphones do have settings where if you talk too loudly into them, they'll some of them do is like they'll just like lower your volume or cut you out.
I blame your internet.
I think that's actually pretty good. I don't care what you're saying.
No.
I guess on that topic, we can I guess end here. The next episode is 118. Don't know the title of it. I wonder if I can find it.
18 is my favorite number.
There is no title yet. Okay. Well, we'll see what's going on in episode 118. I suspect Shigaraki is going to come out and, as Jock so eloquently put it, curb stomp everybody into the ground. I guess this is the point of the episode, well, the series or the season, where they'll probably get some overpowered heroes showing up out of nowhere. I suspect.
Do we have any really good heroes left to do something?
Well, no. They're gonna probably throw in a hero that we never heard of.
We still have plenty of good students that haven't done anything.
I don't suspect that they could do anything to Shigaraki right now.
I'm just saying it's time for Cammy to get naked.
Who?
Cammy.
Cammy.
Am I saying the right one? The one that can shapeshift, that Toga disguises herself as?
I believe it's Toga Himiko is her name. If you're talking about the one who gets naked to change her appearance.
Cammy. I just looked her up.
What?
Cammy from My Hero Academia, Class B. The one that Toga disguises herself as. I'm putting a picture of her in Discord right now. How do you not know who Cammy is? How does, the one that got naked falling out of your mind right now?
Oh, because she's not involved in this fight. She's a part of another school.
No, Class B's are in there.
No, she's not Class B, though. She's from a different school altogether.
Oh, is she really?
Yeah, she, Tenketsu, I believe, is the school. Her classmates, one of them looked like Deku. I'm pretty sure you remember him. There's another guy who hated Todoroki, the wind guy, and then there's a guy who didn't like Bakugo. They were all from the same. They were all from the same school. She's even wearing a different uniform in that picture you're showing me.
Sun Eater could still do a lot too, I guess. We've seen him, but he could. That's a pretty big hero that could still get involved.
I mean, why don't we have what's his name, Muriel, come in and just suplex everybody?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they've gone through their whole arsenal of heroes yet. I think we could still do stuff.
I don't know if there's anybody here who could take on. If Shigaraki decides to get in the middle of the fight, I don't know if there's anybody who can take him on. I mean, maybe Indar? Maybe? Miracle's out of the picture, and I don't think we're going to see Hawks do much of anything else. He's kind of making smoked hen over there right now.
Yeah, Hawk's pretty good.
Hawks is cooked.
He's spiked. He's spiked. He's done.
Oh dear. And we're done. We're going to end it off there.
Shine when he's gone.
We're going to see you guys next time for another episode of My Hero Academia. Either one episode or 2 episodes. We'll see what happens.
Ain't no sunshine when he's gone. And yet my mic didn't cut out for that.
No, it didn't. Everybody heard you. I got a copyright strike. Thank you for that.
And I know.
Goodbye, everybody. Bye.